Good morning, everybody. Good morning, traders. Hope your Monday morning is treating you well. Hope you had a great weekend. Get my pen up here. Got to launch that. And if you could take a second, if you haven't already, to give us a like on the video, subscribe, and all that good stuff. That really helps us out and let us know what we can do for you. Give us some feedback and what is helpful or what you need more of. Let's give a start with the ES, the S&P 500, our usual starting point. So on a daily basis, we have just been stuck in this zone, just right in the middle of it, not really dramatically doing much of anything. I mean, you can see we had the huge volatility coming down, and then a huge volatility on the bounce. So these really big range candles, and then just all of a sudden, small. It's like the market is holding its breath or something right now. Isn't sure what's going to happen, what's going on. Maybe everyone's thinking any second now the U.S. government shutdown will finally stop, or I don't know. I don't know what the market's waiting for, but certainly the volatility has really kind of collapsed here, and we're just not getting the big ranges. It really feels like we're just waiting for something to break or good news to come out or something. So at the moment, anyway, on the daily, the 21 EMA has turned and is trying to kind of act as support. But it's done that before. It did that back here. Actually, let me get my pen. It did that back here. It did it back here. It's nothing new, so I don't get overly excited by this. Right now, you can see a new box came out, and it's a very small box compared to what we've seen in the past. We were used to these huge volatilities, and right now, I mean, the volatility is just nothing. It's just this little itty bitty range. So Navigator is trending up still, but without some kind of strength, some kind of momentum behind it to break that zero line, that's not going to really excite me a whole lot. On a daily basis, it could go either way. We get some great news coming out, and all of a sudden we shoot up over this zone, maybe take out these highs and then have a chance to go higher and test this zone up here. But if we don't get that good news or there's bad news, then I certainly see it continuing to fall lower. And that actually makes sort of a double argument for the bear case, which is that either thing could happen. Either we get bad news, which clearly drives the price down, and maybe it comes down to test this zone, or maybe it even comes down to test this double bottom. Maybe it even breaks below and continues lower. But anyway, if bad news comes out, we could certainly get pushed lower. But even if there's just no good news, right? There isn't necessarily any bad news. There just isn't any good news. It could kind of fall under its own weight. Because right now, just the market is still very nervous. People are still really freaked out over this gigantic down move that we had. I mean, this has just been a brutal sell-off here. And a lot of people got their hopes up when we saw this, and then come down and sort of, you could call that kind of a double bottom almost, or whatever. But it's certainly a higher low, right? Higher than that one. But then failed to make a higher high here, and then it took out that low. And once that happened, I mean, you knew there was a whole nother section of this sell-off, which we have. Notice where we are right now. We've regained that, so we are retesting this very support level right here. So we've bounced back up to it, but certainly we're not able to get up beyond it. So right now, market is very treacherous. On a 60-minute basis, you can see we're stuck in this zone here, and just not able to get out of it. Every single time it tries, it rejects. And right now we're holding at the low of that zone, and I don't think it would take a whole lot to kind of drop and maybe test this zone here. So Navigator is quite bearish right now. We're only about minus 20, so there's plenty of continued downside space on the 60-minute. Certainly on the daily, we're only at minus 9. So there's a lot of room to the downside there as well. So just all in all, the market is not looking very bullish. I would have to say it looks weak. We're just holding. It's really holding its breath. That's the only analogy I can come up with. Is it really just seems like the market is in a wait and see pattern right now. So that's what we have to do as well as traders. We have to wait and see. Now, if you're trading much smaller time frames, of course, you've always got opportunities to scalp here and there. And if you really must trade, that's your best bet, in my opinion. In a time like this, is going to be to just look for the small trades. Grab a point here, a couple points there, nothing huge, and just grab these little moves. Maybe between the zone, maybe from the bottom of the zone to the top of the zone, or that kind of thing. So. Uh, that's kind of the ES. It's not a real clear, warm and fuzzy picture at the moment. But let's take a look at crude oil. And crude, whoops, wrong one. Come on, give me the daily. There we go. So crude oil is sort of continuing this bounce. It hasn't completely retraced all of a sudden, or done any kind of big retest of this bottom here, or anything like that. But it is certainly stuck in this congestion area. And I actually thought I had a box that I had drawn here, but I don't know, something happened. I guess I lost it. But I mean, you can see pretty clearly there's an obvious congestion area there, and we're right in it right now. So right this moment anyway, it's sideways. A new box came out, and we're in between it right now. We're actually right between fair value, which is right there in the top of the box. So right now we are in that balanced mode that the market does 70% of the time, which is that it just goes sideways. The other 30%, you get these kinds of moves. So right now, just going sideways. Navigator is still moving up, but it has not crossed that zero line yet. So there's definitely still some room for downside. I would not be at all surprised to see it come down and maybe retest this zone here, something like that. Now, if that can hold and that forms, a higher low, something like that, then we might be able to see a new bullish trend emerge if it can just get out of this high here, or really get past this congestion zone is really what needs to happen. So crude oil also is sort of in a wait and see pattern right now. The 21 EMA is here and has hooked up, which it hasn't done in a while. Obviously, during this downtrend, it really never was able to turn around at all. We did also break out at the top of the box, so potentially setting up for something to the bull side, but it's not there yet. We got to see this retracement come to a point where it stalls and forms a higher low. We see that, then we can take out this area. Then now we're talking. Now we're talking about an actual reversal, and now we could have a good argument for a bullish trend. 60-minute time frame. Oops, let's see here. Let's get my hand. There we are. 60-minute time frame. Still in this uptrend. We're still riding this uptrending line, but we are pulling back and we're getting close to it. So I'm looking for a test of this line ideally, and then perhaps a bounce, unless, of course, it fails. If it fails past this level, then we could have some further downside. But, it's done that before. So beware of false breakouts. We don't want to jump the gun necessarily. And if we just see a little wicks pointing down, that's not a real strong break. So I wouldn't just jump all over the short side just because I see a little tail poke down. If you see something like that, I'm not going to get overly excited. So watch for some kind of an actual break of this, and with some strength, and hold, and maybe come back, retest, and then reject. That's kind of your ideal. If this can break, retest, reject, that is going to be your ideal, is right as it's rejecting from that line, if you really want to go short. To the bull side, it's got to probably retest this trend line. And it might not even get there. You can see, in previous times, it hasn't quite gotten to it. So, I mean, it could be done here. In fact, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see it better. You can see it kind of already did. It came down and then bounced up, but it's coming down again. So it certainly could test this area. But then it's got quite a few zones overhead to get over. It's got to get over here. It's got to get over here. It's got to get through here. So there's a lot of overhead resistance. A lot of gunk floating around overhead needs to get over. The Navigator is starting to trend up on the 60, but it's got a long ways to go. And there is still some potential downside. It's only at minus 27 right now. It certainly has room that it could move lower, no question. So also crude is kind of in a wait and see. I'm waiting to see for a test of this trend line, and then see what it does. And then if it breaks, look to the downside, and if it holds, look to the upside. If you are, although I should say, if this is it, if this is the low here, and you're looking to get bullish, then Really need to see it get over this first. Well, I mean, you've got, yeah, you've got a point, a little less than a point there. If you're a real small scalper and you want to just scalp a handful of ticks or something out of oil, you might have room to do that if it can just get up through this 21 EMA, and then to test here, you might be able to grab a few ticks there, depending on what type of trader you are. But if you're looking for something a little bit bigger, you really want to see it get maybe up over this zone, and then you might be able to grab a point or two somewhere up in here. But there's just not a huge screaming opportunity right now. But certainly, like I said, if it can get over this zone, take out this high here, then there's an argument to be made for continuing higher highs and higher lows on the 60-minute basis. So watch for that. All right, gold also just moving sideways. Everything right now seems to just be kind of holding its breath. Gold, the broader market, even oil to a certain extent. Everything is just sort of wait and see. No, nothing super clear anywhere. I mean, technically, gold is doing higher highs and higher lows, but right this moment anyway, it's consolidating. It's just chopping around. So we really need to see it do something about that. It needs to get out of this area. And if it goes to the upside, then of course it's got this sell zone overhead on a daily basis that it's going to need to contend with. On the downside, if it breaks below basically the 21 EMA and this rising channel line, then look for it to maybe get stuck in this channel for a while longer. On the 60-minute, I mean, you can see it just chopping around. But that means there is definitely opportunity to be had if you are a short-term trader. You want to be in and out, day trading, things like that. There is certainly movement to be had there. So right now, we've just had a big sell-off here on this 60-minute candle. New box came out, and we pretty much immediately broke below it. So if that holds, we could see some further room to the downside. Be watching for this level here as a test, and then looking for smaller tests here, and a larger one there. Let me zoom out a little. There we go. So the last big zone on the buy side was down here, and it could come down there and retest that, like it tried to here. But I think that would suggest a strong move elsewhere in the market. The market, the broader market, S&P 500, etc., suddenly getting some kind of great news and moving to the upside. And people coming out of gold to take advantage of that, something like that. But right now, I don't see that really developing. So it's a good idea to probably be trading small and just go for small moves. This is a scalping market at the moment, since there is no real clear trend to jump on. So maybe look for that test. Ideally, see a test of this rising trend line before bouncing higher. That would be kind of what I'm looking for. But really, just watch the high and low of this congestion area. And if it does a clear break to the upside or downside, then now you've got more of a directional bias to go with. All right, rounding out with natural gas, and natural gas, of course, is still. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing there. Natural gas has actually jumped up, so it has. It didn't even fill that gap. Now that's really interesting. It didn't even fill that gap. It just jumped right over it. So it has just decided not even to fill. That is really interesting. So right now, anyway, definitely bullish on natural gas, no question about it. It jumped right over and ran, so it's up over the 21 EMA. It looks to be holding at the moment. You can see here on the 60, there's the gap up, and it just came down slightly, and then off it goes. So right now, a lot of bullish momentum, but on a 60-minute, watch out for this. The Navigator is screaming that this is too much too far, or too much too fast, rather, too far too fast. We are up at over 50 on the overbought side of things on the Navigator. So I would be really cautious about wanting to jump on and chase this. It could go further. We certainly have seen that kind of thing happen before. This is not a guarantee that it absolutely cannot go any higher, but the probability is that it's going to want to cool off a little bit, maybe come back and maybe test this gap area, maybe even come back and fill the gap before bouncing. I don't know. It really depends. So watch out for this. Don't just jump all over this to the bull side blindly. I would be really cautious and want to look for some kind of a retracement, something to relieve some of this, because this is just kind of a crazy amount of upward momentum. So and also on the daily, I mean, notice that the daily is still only at negative 25, and it's got room to both directions. It could curl around and go to the upside. It also could continue to the downside. So, natural gas being so weather oriented, we get a cold snap or something like that, and it can run. I mean, we can get stuff like this, and all of this action on a real severe cold snap. So watch out for this. I want to see a little bit of a pullback. I mean, maybe we're even getting it here. This candle is just starting to give back some of this. So who knows? It could also just go down halfway and then charge up again higher. So, again, unclear. We had a pattern of lower lows and lower highs on a daily. And yeah, we jumped up here, but we haven't established higher highs and higher lows yet. So we don't have a real clear change in trend or anything. Technically speaking, the trend is still lower lows and lower highs. So just watch out for that. I would like to see a pullback to maybe test this 21 EMA, something like that. If that holds, then we could see some continuation to the upside. But I really don't want to just be jumping on this to the bull side blindly. So watch out for that and just trade cautiously. The stuff can turn on a dime, and don't let it turn on you. So that is it for my analysis this morning. There's still an issue with TradeStation and crypto, so I can't look at Bitcoin right now, but hopefully that gets fixed soon. And time for everybody to get ready for the trading day. We've got just under a half hour to the opening bell, and we'll just see what the market wants to give today. And that's it. Until Wednesday, I will be back again Wednesday morning for the same thing. We'll do it all over again. So one more time reminder, just please like, comment, subscribe, etc. Let us know what you think of the videos. Give us some feedback. And if you can join us in the Discord room, that'd be great. And if you are ever on the live chats as well, then do say hi. And I think if there's anything else I wanted to mention, but I don't think so. That is it. So time to go get ready for the day. Take care, everybody, and good trading.